Shalom. To YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, QADASH. The honors to the apostle, great millstone for the teaching of the church and sincerity, citation to the hopeful that the spread of the fullness of the earth. This is going to be a data verse, not data verse, but nevertheless entitled Judgment Upon the Wicked is Nigh. All right, Judgment Upon the Wicked is Nigh. Okay. I'm going to start here in Psalm 37 and 1. It reads, Fret not thyself. The subheading title is the security of those who trust in the Lord. And security to the wicked, right? And insecurity to the wicked, okay? Psalm 37, where we fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the work of iniquity, okay? Right? You can't be envious against the workers of iniquity, right? You can be jealous of it. You can't, you can't be, like, you can't be looking at them as if like their rulership will continue forever, right? We gotta have mindset that they're gonna come there. The Lord, they should bring judgment upon them. Okay, for they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Okay, so they're gonna soon be cut down as the grass and wither like the green herb. Okay. Right. So the Lord said he coming back to stump. Basically, when you go to Isaiah, he come back to stump, okay? As if he was stumping the grapevine, okay? And the wicked are the grapes, okay? So trust in the Lord, YAHAWAHSHI, do good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Okay, So we have to trust in the Lord, and trust in the Lord is mainly start with obeying His word. Okay, and it starts with ultimately, calling in the names of the Lord, YAHAWAHSHI, confessing the Lord, confessing the names of the Lord, YAHAWAHSHI, repenting. Okay, and turning back, right, to fearing the Lord. Okay, and start with, like I said, start with obeying His word. Start with obeying His word, and then from there, right? So dwell in the land, and verily there should be good. They should be fed, right? So dwell in the land, okay? And the land is the land of Canaan, right? The chosen land, right? The land that was promised to our forefather, Abraham, okay? Going back to Abraham, right? Isaac and Jacob, right? Also going back to Moses as well, Moses, he was given, the Lord told him about the promised land, but Moses, the Lord didn't allow Moses to enter the land. Okay, and verily should befit me what blessed. Okay, delight thyself also in the Lord, YAHAWAHSHI, He shall give thee the desires of thy heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. And He shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Okay. Okay, so and rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospers in his ways, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Right, you know, you know, because we know that the but yeah, yeah. So rest in the Lord, like I said, sometimes rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Okay, you know. So we have to rest in the Lord. Okay, how we rest in the Lord ultimately start by His word, right? We rest in His word. Okay, We rest in, his because the Holy Spirit is going to comfort him, right? Going to comfort us, right? We rest in his spirit, right? You know, they wait patiently for him. They go back to long suffering, right? And who's the man that bringeth forth the wicked devices, right? It says, you read, for not necessarily because of him who prospers in his ways, because of the man that brings forth wicked devices to pass, right? This refers to the heathens, right? The Esau, right? They bring forth wicked devices, right? Wicked devices are worse, okay? Devices are another word for worse, right? Worse. Just different words they bring, okay? Wicked words, whether using the earth, using nature, okay, you know, and using technology and using just like nature, whether that the air, okay, the different minerals, whatever, and using those things against the Israelites, okay, the chosen nation, right? You know, using food, etc. Against the chosen nation, right? That's why this is why they're all about the GMO, right? GMO. The reason why GMO was ultimately created, it was ultimately created to last longer. Okay, you know, let's say it was ultimately created to last longer, but through that, which I think it was, you know, um, pretty sure it was because GMO stands for genetic modified, basically organisms or something like that. And those which are basically man-made fruits, okay, and stuff like that, right? Not organic, right? And we don't know what Esau put in the GMO food, okay? All types of things, right? To have it last long on the shelf, ultimately, you know. But those things are bad for us, okay? And those things can get us sick. They can poison us, right? This is why the scripture says, we should eat our food. We should eat poison and live, okay? You know, every day you eat, because you're not eating anything you eat, right? Look at the ingredients in it. Yeah, everything you eat, right, is all bad for you. Okay, there's nothing. You're not eating anything that's considered what they call organic, right? Unless you grow your own crops, right, or something like that. But even the ground is polluted, right? All the earth, the earth is out of course. Okay, nothing is nothing is prospering as a sense of anything good, to benefit us, right? Okay. Says, cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. Right. You know. Says, fret not, yeah, thyself in any wise to do evil. You know. We can't be doing evil, right? We can't be, in back of our mind, okay, trying to do trying to do anything evil, right? You know. Okay. We can't be in our back of our mind trying to do anything evil, right? Have our So yeah, these are other these are just you know for an evildoer should be cut off, but those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. Right, evildoers gonna be cut off. Right, they'll be judged. Right, their judgment is coming. Right, you know, evildoors. Right, their judgment is coming. Right, you know, their judgment is coming eventually. You know, Because those that wait upon the Lord, they're gonna inherit the earth, right? You know, those who wait upon the Lord are gonna inherit the earth, right? You know, meaning what we're gonna be the first fruit in to the kingdom of heaven, right? You know, the fruit to the kingdom of heaven. Okay, ultimately. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not, and yet a little while, fuck you, and yet a little while the wicked shall not, the wicked should not be. Yeah, they thou should diligently consider his place, and it should not be right. You know, and let for a little while, right? The wicked should not be right. The little while, right? You know, the scripture speaks about how Esau, you know, he was sent to rule for a little season, right? You know, he's ruling for a little season. He's not here to rule forever. Okay, you know, our people think, you know, these other Israelite groups think they gonna that we're gonna get the redeem, you know, in 2030, right? 30, right? You know, 30,000, right? You think we're gonna be here for another 1,000 years, right? No, okay, because they don't understand the prophecies, okay, ultimately. They don't understand that the wicked, you know, is not gonna be here forever, right? You know, the wicked is not gonna be here forever, right? The wicked is not gonna rule forever, okay? You know, thou should diligently consider his place, and it should not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace, okay? You know, the meek are referring to the Israelites, okay? They're gonna inherit the earth, right? You know, they're gonna inherit the earth and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. Okay, you know, and that's the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is abundance of peace, right? You know, we're gonna be that's what Isaiah goes into, right? You know, how we're gonna live in peace, right? We're gonna live in peace. We're gonna prosper. Okay, the wicked plotted against the just and gnashed upon him with his teeth. Okay, the Lord shall laugh at him, for he sees the day that his day is coming. Right. This is what I got to tie this from. Right. You know, the Lord shall laugh at him because the Lord, you know, the Lord is seeing the wicked men plotting against the just. Right. You know, the Lord is seeing what's happening because He's the one who controls everything. Right. You know, the Lord sees what's happening. Right. You know, but the Lord gonna allow, but the Lord the Lord is laughing what through. Now we know the Lord is laughing through his ultimately his men. Right. The one that He set up. Okay. You know, because ultimately, you know, we have the Spirit of the Lord on us, right? YAHAWAHSHI, okay? You know, and we see it, you know, that his day is coming, right? Through these prophecies, right? You know, I'll go back to the word, right? How do we can't cardinally see, you know, that his day is coming. Because when we think cardinally, you know, when we're thinking cardinally, we think that this man ain't gonna never be judged. We think this man is never gonna it's never gonna it's never gonna get a rulership, right? You know, that's what we think, right? We're thinking carnally, right? We're gonna think like these other that think, you know, we're gonna have another 1,000 years to live, right? You know, no. When we think spiritually, we use our spiritual eye, okay? You know, the spiritual don't be carnal minded, right? Be spiritual, right? You know, when we think spiritual, we use our spiritual eyes, okay, um to see the wicked to see the wicked, you know, to see the wicked destruction, right? To see the judgment of the wicked coming, right? You know, it says the wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy and to slay such as be of an upright conversation. Okay, you know, yeah, you know, and the upright conversation mean a manner of life and a manner of living, right? And you know, the wicked, you know, referring to, you know, Esau even these season, right? They see they bending their boat to they're gonna bend their boat, they're bending their sword, they're gonna try to, you know, take us down, they're gonna try to do whatever they need to do, okay, and use to, you know, ultimately just work our righteous living in the Lord, Yahweh, to the as this is a righteous live. I mean, as a sense of you know our what Paul call it they try to set up our peace basically, our security in the Lord. Okay, you know they trying to disrupt that, right? You know, says that sword shall enter into their own heart and their bows shall be broken. Right, their sword they use against us, right? You know, it gonna return to you, it gonna backfire, okay, back to them, right? All right, okay, it's not gonna prosper. It's like how I think I forget which verse, right? Or which verse in book, but it reads that let not let Yahawah let not any weapon prosper against me. I think that's in Psalms. That's in one of the Psalms. But yeah, you know, let not any weapon prosper. Let not any weapon of the wicked prosper against me, right? You know, and that's what the is what this psalm's going to, right? You know how the wicked how their bow is going to return back to them, right? They're still going to enter to their own heart, right? You're gonna backfire. You're gonna be backfire, right? You know, and yeah, you know, um, and little that Russian man has is better than the riches of many wicked, right? You know, all right. So ultimately, I'm gonna close it here. We'll give so it says actually it says the arms of the wicked should be broken, but the Lord hold of the righteous. Okay, for the arm of the wicked should be broken, but the Lord Yahawah upholdeth the righteous. Okay, you know the arms of the wicked are gonna be broken, right? Their strength is gonna be broken. Okay, the Lord knows the days of the upright. Okay, and their heritage should be forever, right? You know the Lord He knows the days of the upright, right? And their inheritance is going to be forever. You know, they're going to live forever. They're going to live in peace. They're going to live. They're going to prosper. They're going to be blessed. Okay. They should not be ashamed. Okay. They should not be ashamed in the evil time and in the days of famine. They should be satisfied. Okay, satisfied. Right. And we're coming into the evil time. Right. The evil time is Jacob trouble. Right. You know where judgment. Where the wicked was basically they were created for Jacob trouble, right? You know, right? In the days of the famine, they should be satisfied, right? You know, because we're coming in the days of famine, right? You know, where these storehouses, your different stores are gonna be, you know, it's gonna be low in storage, right? Low in items, low in food, right? But the Lord said, but what the Lord said that, and the you should hunger, but my servants basically should, you know, you should maybe something like that. You should hunger, my servant should. You should suffer, but my servant should live, something along the line, right? You know, you should be hungry, but my servant will eat. So I think it was if I roughly paraphrase that, paraphrase right. You know, the wicked gonna be they don't hunger right in that day, but the servant Lord gonna eat. Okay, you know, but the wicked should perish, and the enemies of the Lord should be as the fat of lambs. They should consume into smoke. They should consume into smoke. Should they consume away? Right, you know, because what this nuclear destruction that's ultimately coming upon this horde. Okay, Babylon the Great. You know, and that orchard is the weapon that the Lord gonna use. Okay, to destroy the enemies. Right, it's gonna ultimately the fat. Okay, of the enemies, right? The flesh of the wicked, right? It gonna be fat to the fire, right? It gonna be used. It's gonna be a fire. It's gonna be it gonna be used. It's gonna be what used to get the fire burning, right? You know, because the wicked borrows and pays not again, but the righteous shows mercy and giveth, right? Okay, because we know that the scriptures about how Esau he covered over other people's land, right? He take their women, he their land, he take their everything. Okay, you know he don't give it back. Okay, you know, We know that Esau, he's in debt, right? Going back to the debt clock, right? This man's in debt a trillion dollars, right? And guess what? He don't have any. He can't pay that back. He's not paying it back, right? The scripture says about that. Woe to men that lay upon clay. Okay, that cannot be paid basically. Okay, for such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that curse of him shall be cut off. Okay, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord Yahawah. He divided in his ways. Right. You know, our steps are ordered by the Lord Yahawah. All right. So, uh, I'm closing here. I'm going to end it here in Psalm 37:4. And the Lord Yahawah shall help them and deliver and deliver them. He should deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him. Right. The Lord, he gonna help us and he gonna deliver us in the time that we're coming to. Right. Because what we trust in the Lord Yahawah. But to the wicked is judgment. Right. Judgment upon the wicked is near. It's not. Right. There are many scriptures out there you can read going to Matthew 20:28, I believe. Matthew 28, 24, where it goes into the day of judgment, right? You know how they were, how the wicked were living, they were prosperous, they were given to marriage, right? Pottering, okay, in a folly spirit, right? But then judgment came, right? Going back to the days of Noah, right? So it's near, right? We see it through through prophecy. We see it through our own eyes, right? Legend, the different things that's happening, right, in the earth, right? Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to recommend all the praise to Yahawah Shem 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 Shem